been speaking to a few mothers this week and found that there's been a theme that I'm also suffering myself, and that is of motherhood and work, motherhood and study, motherhood and anything. It is unbelievably complicated once you become a mother, doing anything, because you've always got to make sure that our most precious little sidekicks are looked after, and looked after well, during that time. And obviously we need to also spend a lot of time with our little babies when they're young. So this juggling act is so difficult and so tiring. In fact, it's exhausting. And I've been, as I said, talking to a lot of mothers around this week, and I'm just wondering what the solution is. What can be done? As I said to a friend today, I'm fantasizing about that 1950s housewife, just cooking, cleaning, ironing, looking after the kids, just hanging out at home, getting bored. I'd love to feel bored. It just sounds like such a dream come true, which I can't even believe I'm saying that, considering I was one of the most ambitious young feminists out there. At one point in my career, wanting to be a judge, a barrister, forensic psychologist, forensic profiler, I mean, you name it. There were some huge careers that I considered, and I thought, oh, it'd be great to have a stay-at-home dad, and I could just have these kids and I'll head off back to work. And I find myself feeling completely the opposite 20 years later, or not quite 20 years later, having children, and thinking, gosh, I would do anything just to have a clear mind. I could get up, sleep during the day when my kids are sleeping rather than rushing around work. I could go to bed at night with them, get my energy back rather than having to work 2 or 3 hours a night, depending on how late they go to bed. And at the moment we're having a bit of a toddler out of routine, daylight savings, not going to bed, taking 2 hours, needing one of us to be with her, and that affects our little lady as well, our youngest. So yeah, it's such a juggle at the moment, and I know that we're all experiencing this in different forms, in different ways. I just wonder, what can we do about it? And I really start to think, as a society, we've really got to rethink what we're doing to our children, to our mothers. Ultimately, the best place for a mother is with her child, spending time with her child, looking after her child in those early years. And this has huge benefits on the whole community, on the whole society. And yet we're living in Western societies where daycares and childcare centres, those sorts of things, are just on the rise. They're very expensive, there's so many around, and so many people are using them because women are under so much pressure to go back to work. And this is a really, really sad thing, because while there are some women who are very, very keen to go back to work and do enjoy it, and that is fantastic for them, there are a lot of women who don't want to go back to work, who don't want to leave their children, and there should be some possibilities for those women. And I'm a very, very firm believer in this, and I'm hoping that we can make some changes somehow in this regard in my lifetime, because as far as I'm concerned, the best person to look after a child is their mother or someone that loves them dearly. No matter how good a daycare centre or nanny or au pair or whatever that is, no one's ever going to look after a child in the same way that a mother does, or a caregiver, a loved caregiver, father, grandparent. And there should be some scope in our society for mothers, for families, grandparents who are focused on that and want that, to be able to do that without the the pressures, the stigma, the consequences. So I'm wondering on your feedback, what do you think about that? Any ideas? How can we lobby the government to try and help mums and children, or fathers and children, be able to spend more time together and still survive in this hugely expensive societies that we live in? See you next time.